You're not afraid about death?
No. In fact, I almost feel good at the approach of death.
Why? You have a nice wife.
All that's okay. But you see, as you live many years, things take on a repeat. Is that ended? Are you ended? Okay. Things take on a repeat. You understand? You keep seeing the same thing over and over again. The same substance, the same action, the same reaction. So you get a little bit tired of life. So if death comes, you almost say, okay, baby, it's time. It's good. So I have very little fear of death. In fact, I almost welcome it.
Did you ever read Malcolm Larry's Under the Volcano?
Yeah, I did, and I yawned myself to shit.
Why?
Why? Because, like any other writer, there's no pace, there's no quickness in his lines. There's no life, there's no sunlight. When you write, your words must go like this. Bim, 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 bim. Each line must be full of a delicious little juice, flavor. They must be full of power. They must make you like to turn a page. Bim, bim, bim. What these guys do, they say, well, in blah, 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 da, 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 there was a porch chair. The flies were walking around. You see, they're too leisurely. They're setting up the scene for the grand emotion. And when they get to the grand emotion, there isn't any. This is a different age. It's the atomic age. Each line must have its own power, its own feeling, its own juice, its own flavor. Writing must never be boring. It must not bore the reader, the writer. It must not bore anybody. You have to have juice in each line, don't you see? You don't believe me, but I'm trying to tell you. I get so... Writers put me to sleep.
So we always say at the Black Panther Party that they can do anything they want to us. We might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you remember I said with the last words on my lips that I am a revolutionary. And you're going to have to keep on saying that. You're going to have to say that I am a proletarian. I am the people. I'm not the pig. You got to make a distinction. And the people are going to have to attack the pig. The people are going to have to stand up against the pig. That's what the Panthers are doing. That's what the Panthers are doing all over the world.
We have brought to trial here Fred Hampton. You are here to judge between two conflicting absolutes. Somebody is lying. Now reason is very clear here. That Private Jones, who had come from Sanford, North Carolina, would have no great desire to see Fred Hampton up in this trial. But Fred Hampton, a key figure in this
Why do I have a lot of arrests? Because of harassment. Why is there harassment? Because the people that harass me have set up a problem that made me disagree with them violently, and they set up this problem in order to exploit me and other people like me. And why they want to get rid of me? Because I'm saying something that might wake up some other exploited people and some other oppressed people. And if all these people ever get together, then these things that are exploiting us, we'll be able to run them into the lake. That's why they want to get rid of us. And it's just, it's sort of like a primary thing with me. I'm the first move that they'll make. I'm a part of an organization who will be the first organization they'll move on, because I happen to be a part of an organization, the Black Panther Party, that is the only organization, in fact, that has came out and stood up loud and clear saying that we don't care what anybody says, whether they have guns or not, and badges or 18 uniforms. If whenever they step outside the bounds of legality into the bounds of illegality, then we'll blow their brains out. If they're bothering the people. And what makes them mad about that? They're constantly bothering the people. Anybody that's out there for the protection of the people happens to be in direct conflict with them. What makes them mad about it? What makes them mad about it is that they had black people and white poor people and red poor people and Puerto Rican poor people and Latin American poor people of poor people of all descent. They had them caught up in their movements based on racism when the Black Panther Party stood up and said that we don't care what anybody says. We don't think it's back 5 with 5 capitalism, but we're going to fight for socialism. We feel as if we're not going to fight reactionary pigs and reactionary state attorneys like this and reactionary state attorneys like Hammerhand with any other reactions on our part. We're going to fight their reactions where all of us people will get together and have an international proletarian revolution.
Right on.
And that's saying all power to the people.
There once was a man called Harry who went on two legs, wore clothes, and was a human being. Nevertheless, he really was a wolf of the steppes. In his childhood, he was wild and disobedient and disorderly, and those who brought him up declared a war of extinction against the beast in him. And precisely this had given him the idea that he really was a beast, with only a thin veneer of the human. If Harry had a beautiful thought or felt a fine and noble emotion, the wolf laughed with bitter scorn. He knew well enough what suited him. But when Harry behaved as a wolf, the human part of him lay in ambush, called him brute and beast, and spoiled all pleasure in his simple and healthy and wild wolf's being. It cannot be denied that he was generally very unhappy, for he always brought his own dual and divided nature into the destinies of others. Nevertheless, he was secretly and persistently attracted to the bourgeois world, dressed respectably, had money in the bank, and supported poor relations. He was capable of loving the political criminal or intellectual seducer, but as for theft, murder, or rape, he would not have known how to deplore them, otherwise than in a thoroughly bourgeois manner. Now, what we call the bourgeois as a principle of human existence is nothing less than a search for balance. It is in the middle of the road that the bourgeois seeks to walk, always ready to compromise between right and wrong, good and evil. He will never surrender either to the martyrdom of the spirit or to the martyrdom of the flesh. The vital force of the bourgeoisie resides in its outsiders, artists and intellectuals like Harry, who develop far beyond the level possible to the bourgeois. Knowing the bliss of meditation no less than the gloomy joys of hatred and self-loathing, he is nevertheless captive to the bourgeoisie and cannot escape it. Unless, if suffering has made his spirit tough and elastic enough, he finds a way of reconciliation and an escape into humor. The outsider has two souls, two beings, God and the devil in it. And these men, for whom life has no repose, live in their rare moments of happiness with such strength and indescribable beauty. The spray of their momentary ecstasy is flung so high over the wide sea of suffering that the light of it touches others with its enchantment. But only the strongest of them force their way through the atmosphere of the bourgeois world to reach the cosmic. There never was a man with a deeper and more passionate craving for independence than Harry. He never sold himself for money or an easy life, or to women, or to those in power, and had thrown away 100 times his advantage and happiness in order to safeguard his liberty. But in the midst of his freedom, Harry suddenly realized that his freedom was a death, and that he stood alone.
I just told you who I thought I was. A guy. I just told you. That's who I think I am. I had plastic surgery because I was trying to look good for y'all. I got liposuction because I didn't want y'all to call me fat about it. Slavery is 400 years. For 400 years, that sounds like a choice. Like, you was there for 400 years and it's all of y'all? Everybody's trying to try. I get how much you sold. If you playing on radio, are you connecting? Picasso is dead. Steve Jobs is dead. Walt Disney is dead. Name somebody living. But I spend hundreds of thousands and go to announce clothing lines at a smaller degree. All I'm asking you, and there ain't no route stuff.
Yo, Taylor, I'm really happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish. But Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time. One of the best videos of all time.
Oh! Kanye! Kanye, you okay? You okay? You alright, Kanye? Are you okay? Stop taking pictures. Take a fucking another photo, man. Don't take another fucking photo, man. I just got here, homie. Don't take no photo. Okay. Stop it. Brother, all of you motherfuckers, stop it, man. I just got here, brother. I just got here. Kanye, I just got here. How's it going, Kanye?
Don't say anything to me, man. Like, stop asking me questions. You out in front of my house at 4 a.m. Talking about how's it going? It's not going good. Y'all here trying to take money out to make money off us. That's how it's going. It's 4 a.m. It's 4 a.m. and you ask me how it's going. You know I don't want you to say nothing to me. You hear what I'm saying? Respect that. Work with
Just a humble bounty hunter, ma'am. It was just that he was all alone, always by himself. Never anyone to share the game. A man who lived in dreams. That's who he was.
For instance, that old lady back there could have been killed. You ever think about that?
I try not to think.
Well, that's the point. The reward was only $1.25 million. Hardly worth a human life. I'd like to find the guy who said bounty hunting's glamorous. It's just a penny ante game.
Why don't you shoot? You're an original, aren't you?